Mother, man.
Hello, this is Stian Gundersen from Blood Red Throne, and you're listening to Murder Metal Mayhem.
Spreading faster than a case of the clap in a trailer court. Able to shatter eardrums within a 666-mile radius. A podcast more brutal than all the rest. It's Murder Metal Mayhem! This is Pete Altieri with the Murder Metal Mayhem podcast, and I have the privilege of doing this interview with Stian Gundersen, the bass player for the Norwegian death metal band Blood Red Throne. Thanks for doing this interview with me, Stian, and how are things over there in Norway?
Well, thank you for having me. Things are pretty good. The spring is coming, and things are looking better.
Things are thawing out over there.
Yes, blooming.
Yes, same here. We're going into spring, and it's kind of nice to get winter behind us and some outdoor type activities. So very cool. Well, what is the latest with Blood Red Throne? I know you guys, I've read that you're supposed to be coming out with an album either this year or early next year. Anything you can share with us that you're okay to talk about?
Yeah, sure. We released the first single, Letrodectus, in February. And we are currently recording our 11th album. I think I personally have like 6 songs, which I have finished recording.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure about the other guys, but we're working like Daniel, who's the main composer. He writes the songs and send them over to us, and we record them in our home studios as soon as we have time. And so I'm up to date with his songwriting as of now. So I'm waiting for some new riffs.
Wow.
But hopefully we will have it out this year. That's what we aim for, since it's our 25th anniversary.
That's awesome. Yes, that is. I did read that.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that new Letrodectus single that you guys put out. Is that going to be on the album too?
Oh, well, thank you. I think it's a banger for sure as well, and represents the band good, but I hope it will be on the album. I think so. That would be like one less song to write. So
Yeah.
I guess it will be, if we're sticking to our schedule, to release at the end of the year.
Right. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I'm anxious to hear it. I really, really, really like the band. Now, your first album with the band was Imperial Congregation in 2021. What was that experience like when you were recording? I know you said with this one you guys are recording at home. Was that the same way you guys did Imperial Congregation?
Yeah. Freddie did his drum tracks at his home studio, and all the guitars were recorded at Daniel's home studio, as well as the vocals. That was a really fun experience, and I was very nervous for it being my first full album. I did play on the bonus track to Fit to Kill, the album before Imperial Congregation.
Yeah,
that's
I love
me
that
playing
one too.
But for first full length album, I was pretty nervous, because there's definitely some big shoes to fill in Blood Red Throne. You have Erling Kaspersen and Ole Madsen, which are great bass players, both of them. So I was like, I really wanted to do my best. So I was like, before heading into the studio recording at Daniel, I was like, I had all my bass parts mapped out. Nothing was like brainstormed or anything. Maybe some parts Daniel had an opinion, like, oh, you tried that, and you worked with it. But most of it was like planned out and really thought through on my end.
Sure.
Because I wanted to deliver, and I'm really happy and proud with the result. And from what I've heard on feedback from interviews and stuff like that, people seem to enjoy it. So
yeah,
Yeah.
I love your bass tone on that album. And how did you end up getting into the band? did you know the guys? Is that how you wound up becoming the bassist?
I knew Ivan Mituk because I was I'm in his older band, Son of Shotgun, and he gave me like the inside info that the previous bass player was quitting. So I was like straight ahead. I taped the cover, a playthrough of The Light to Hate, and sent to Daniel. I did not know Daniel at the time, and I was like so excited because I've been a fan of Blood of the Throne many years prior to joining them, you know, growing up and stuff. So I really felt like, okay, this is my chance. This is what I want to do. So I just sent the cover to him, and I like sent him a text. And I was like 18 at the time, so pretty young. And
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm a fan. I really want to join your band. Here's a video of me playing The Light to Hate. Please check it out." And I was like, you know, tricked me, like waiting for him to reply to the email, right? And what I got back was like, "You're playing all the riffs wrong. And besides,
Oh,
you're
no.
the same age as my daughter. There's no way." I was like so bummed out. I was like,
Oh man. Wow.
but somehow, I put that on the shelf, and I was really bummed out and stuff. But this one day, Daniel sends me a text message. "Come to my place. Bring your bass." He's like really like, you know, mysterious guy. Not
Wow.
in person, but on the phone, he's like mysterious, or at least I thought it was back then. So I was okay. Shall I come to your house with my bass? Yeah. And I brought my bass, and we just started jamming and learning some of the other riffs, how to play them properly. and the next thing, he didn't say anything, so I was like just left wondering. I was like, "Hey, what was this about?" Like, we jammed out. Did I do good? I don't know. And a few weeks later, after that, I didn't hear anything from him. But all of a sudden, I was out drinking with some coworkers, and he was out drinking with some friends, I believe, and his wife. And he just sent me another text message. "Are you out on the town?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Come to this pub." And I was like, "Okay, master, I'm coming." Like, I just bounced off of my coworkers, like, I have to go, you know.
That's
I went
hilarious.
in there, and we had a few beers, and he introduced me to his friends, and he was like, "This is Stian, our new bass player." And I was like, "Yes."
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the story.
That is a good story. That's
Yeah,
pretty
it is.
funny.
It is a good
I could
story.
see where you would have been really intimidated with this
Yeah.
band you've loved, you know, for years, and now you get the chance, and that age difference too. That's, I'm sure, intimidating, you know. And
Yeah, it kind of was, but now it's not an issue at all. We're all on the same page. And
that's cool.
Humor wise, and you know, we're all friends.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure he was just like, he was just fucking with
Just
with
messing
me,
with
you know?
you.
Yeah, he's probably just testing me, you know.
He probably
How
tells
far can
that
we-
same story, but from the other side, about how he freaked you out, you know.
Yeah,
That's
probably.
pretty funny. Now, you know, as a bass player myself, as we talked about before we started, you know, that's one of the reasons why I always enjoy talking to another bassist. But what kind of basses do you use? It looked like a Warwick maybe in that one picture I saw of you.
Correct.
But I was just curious, you know, what kind of gear? I mean, little bass tech, not too crazy, but, you know, to some of our listeners that are musicians, love to hear that kind of stuff as well. Because like I said, I love your bass tone. It's crisp, and you can hear it in the mix. A lot of death metal, the bass players are kind of buried. And I always like, not only with you, but the other bass players as well, and that have been in the band, you can hear it cutting the guitars, which is hard to do with death metal, and everything's too, you know, so low, even the vocal, you know.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm not like that much of a gearhead, and I never was. Like my first like 5 years of playing bass was without an amp, even. I was just like playing
Direct,
having it plugged in. It's more of when I started playing live at the age of 16, 17. You know, you had to get some gear, but I never really like messed much around with it. But what I'm using now is I use Darkless electronic pedals, which is pretty much what everyone
Yeah,
uses. But it's a reason for it.
Yeah, I had that too. It definitely makes a difference.
And bass-wise, I've been using Warwick for many years now. I just like always really enjoyed the look of them and the sound. So, and I'm easygoing when it comes to gear. So if it works, it works. I find the bass I like, I stick to it. Like,
Right.
I don't buy new basses. I don't buy new pedals or plugins.
What kind of pickups? What kind of pickups are in that Warwick you play?
Oh, it's the MEC, like from the factory. The basses I use are
active or passive?
Old. Active.
Okay.
And they're pretty old. The thumb that you see in the picture, I believe, is from 2000, the same year I was born. And I have a Streamer as well, which I mainly use in studio, which is from 2002. So they're pretty old, and I haven't done any modifications with them or anything. They just sound good, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And
yeah,
settings-wise, it's everything in the middle, you know, pickups, just like bridge neck pickup.
Right.
Middle.
Nice. Yeah, I got a Spectre bass. I got the Alex Webster model, which is cool. Nice, and it's got the I never seen this too. 2 9-volts, so 18-volt and EMGs, which I've always liked. EMG pickups with the
powerful stuff.
That Spectre bass through that dark glass just sounds so good. I mean, really, really amazing stuff. So yeah, I've always liked the Warwick basses too. Really nice. It makes a difference. I'd never played a neck through bass before, but that Spectre I've got, that's the only neck through I've ever had. So definitely nice.
That bass is so beautiful. I actually saw when we played Inferno Festival earlier this month, and Cannibal Corpse was also playing, which is like my all-time favorite band. And I was like, oh, dude, that was so cool. But to answer your question about, you know, cutting through the mix, it's basically the same principle as Alex Webster talks about. Like, you have, when you play in a death metal band and you have 2 heavy down-tuned guitarists, you don't need that much like of the low-end frequency in your bass, just a little bit.
Right.
And I boost, you know, the high end and the treble, those frequencies I boost, you know.
Okay.
And I also use stainless steel strings.
Yeah, me too.
With a pretty thin gauge, actually. I use 125 on my B string, which is actually, that's pretty thin, you know.
Yeah, I use, I think, a 130 on mine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And
wow.
And the action is set like really, really low. So when I record my bass and I listen to the clean signal, it actually sounds pretty shitty. It doesn't sound like
right.
Almost. But when you with the proper EQ and a good production, you get a real nice bass tone that's really through.
Yeah, definitely. I dig that. That's an interesting take on it. And yeah, I definitely love Alex Webster and Cannibal Corpse as well. Now, what were some bass players that got you started wanting to play bass in the first place? Was it Alex or was it somebody else? And then what bass players do you admire today still actively playing? Well,
the reason I started playing bass, it's actually quite funny, and a lot of people don't guess that, but that was actually Joey DeMaio from Manowar.
Nice.
Yeah, that was my first heavy metal band, and I just thought Joey DeMaio looked so badass, and I thought he played
those
so
bass
badass.
Solos are pretty wicked that he does. I mean,
yeah, they are, and they hold up still to this day, in my opinion. Like, so I started out with a pick at the playing bass at the age of 11. And as you know, as a young metalhead, you progress into heavier stuff. And I discovered Cannibal Corpse and heard Hammer Smash bass solo, and I was like, okay, I guess that's what I'm going to do now. So from then on, it was Alex Webster, fingerstyle, getting into all of that kind of thing. But bass players to this day who still plays, Alan Costelson, previous member of Blood of the Throne, with his other band, like One Possession, Igor, that kind of stuff really influences me.
Yeah.
And well, there's a lot of great bass players out there. You know, Forrest from First Fragment, I've seen him. He plays Merciless.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a total beast. Yeah, there's so many good people out there now, and it's really interesting to
Oh
keep an eye
yeah.
on.
Well, that band I mentioned to you that I interviewed last weekend, they're a young band called Chronicle. They're from Denmark, and that bass player is unbelievable, doing like hammer-ons and some pretty wicked stuff. Similar to it was one of the videos I watched of you doing something like that, and I was like, man, that's crazy. You don't see bass players doing that sort of thing very much. So, but yeah,
Well,
Chronicle, really good young band. Kind of a death thrash, a little bit of black metal in there too. But yeah, really, really good kind of an up and coming band that I definitely really like. Bass player's exceptionally good. Any bands out there that you're listening to that maybe our listeners don't know about? I always find out about some really great bands asking that question.
yeah, I like basically all kinds of metal, but my home base is definitely death metal, and I like to keep a lookout on whatever's new and sort of underground. So I spend a lot of time on Bandcamp. But
Me
if there's
too.
an album that I would like that sticks out for me from this year, is Homicidal Ecstasy by Sanguisugabot.
Yes. One of our co-hosts is friends with one of the guys in that band.
Oh, yes.
He was talking about them before I even heard who they were.
Oh,
And
dude,
then
I
all of a
remember.
sudden they've just like blown up.
Yeah, they did, because I found the Pornographic Seizures EP back when it came out in 2018 or 19, I believe, and I was like immediately hooked. I was like, oh, this is so mean. This is so caveman. I can't believe this, and I was sending it to all my friends, but they didn't catch on right away. They was like, oh, whatever. But all of a sudden, it clicked with them, and it's been really cool to see the progression of the band, because their latest effort, Homicidal Ecstasy, is slightly more in a brutal death metal, chaotic direction, which I really like, and it's just so unpleasant to listen to. It gives me like the chills. It's just like straight
Oh,
up
wow.
heaven. And another band from recent years that have like really stuck with me is Vitriol.
Okay.
They released the album in 2019, I believe, To Bathe from the what's it called? I can't remember, but that's just like super fast, evil, chaotic death metal. I like when my death metal has either it has to have like nasty riffs, which makes the face,
Right.
or it has to have a vibe, like atmosphere that
Okay.
can be hard to describe, if this makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I get a vibe from an album, like oh, this is some evil, scary shit, then I'm sold.
That's cool. That's cool. I was doing an interview with Matt, who used to be the front man for Levidity. They're a band from my area here where I live. And so I've known him for a long time. Anyway, we were talking, and he's got another project going on now. And I asked him about that and just what you've been listening to lately. He's like, man, I've been jamming the shit out of Blood Red Throne. And I was like,
Oh, dude.
you know what? It's been a minute since I've listened to those guys. And I started getting into it. And I was like, man, where the hell have I been? And just started going backwards into some of the albums. So I love asking bands that question. I mean, I've learned about some good ones. Schizophrenia is a great band that I found out about from talking to other bands. In Malice's Wake from Australia, really, really good death thrash crossover. Really like those guys. So yeah, I just love asking that question, because you just find out some gems you didn't even know about. Just so
Yeah.
many great bands out there. Metal is just like the ever flowing fountain of stuff, and especially lately it's like every Friday. I use the hell out of Bandcamp as well, but it's like every Friday there's like 4 or 5 new albums out at least. And I'm like, holy shit, you know, like as a band, that's got to be tough to keep people's attention when there's that much stuff coming out and all these tours happening. And it's just like, holy shit, you know.
Everybody is able to record from home now, you know, so it's a lot more doable for people.
Right.
Like money isn't an issue when it comes to releasing music anymore, the way it used to be. So, of course, there's some costs and stuff. Of course, there always will be, but it's way more accessible now.
Oh yeah.
And so, but the quality is still there. You know, there's
it's unbelievable
stuff in there.
Yeah, I've been amazed. I mean, the bands that I like, a lot of the indie stuff, they're doing them themselves, and I'm like, you recorded that in your living room? Are you fucking kidding me? You know. Back in my day, you know, like when I started playing in the 80s, I mean, you're going to a formal studio and you're spending like crazy amounts of money, even at a young level, which makes it almost impossible for a metal band to do a real recording in that era. But nowadays, if somebody knows how to use Pro Tools or one of those audio softwares, I mean, the sky's the limit. I mean, shit, it's unbelievable. It really is. And I think that's great. Makes it a lot more doable for the young bands out there, you know?
Yeah, right. Exactly. But to view it from a different place, I'm actually pretty bummed out that I missed out on that generation. I would love to have the experience of, you know, getting in the van with the guys and driving to a studio far away and just be there for a week, just like watching all of the band members tracking their parts and tracking my own parts and like the brotherhood of it all. Because for our new album now, I record at my home studio, which is super convenient. It's so great. I can I can get home from work and like record a riff and then go make dinner and then record another riff after dinner, you know, and sitting here in my melancholical solitude recording the bass. So it's really convenient, but I would appreciate to like have that part of it, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And I know that my first band was more of a progressive metal band, a real intricate stuff. And it was nice having everybody there where you could see each other, and we recorded the basic tracks live in separate rooms. And then the solos and vocals were punched in later, but everything else was live. And I remember we had a song that was like 9.5 minutes long and pretty intricate bass stuff. And I was so we were all so worried we were going to fuck it up, you know, and then have to start over again and over again with everybody, you know, the pressure's on, and we played it last.
You recorded on tape as well?
Analog. Yeah.
And then you have that to worry about as well. Are we running out of tape?
Yeah, right. We played it last because we were worried if we played it early and we were screwing it up, it would mess with our heads and we wouldn't be able to do anything. So we recorded all the songs and saved that one for last and then knocked it out in the first take. I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, I would have thought we'd had to do that song 20 times, you know, but it's just funny. But you're right about that camaraderie. I remember sleeping in the studio and because we didn't have the money to drive back and forth every day, and he let us sleep in the studio and just, you know, stories, things that, you know, you can always remember and laugh about later when you're older.
I don't think I will remember anything from recording like the album we're doing now because I'm just doing it at home. Where everything else, you know, so it's nothing really special in that sense, you know. So
yeah, I could see that.
Too much about it.
I could see that. Well, I have this question. I've asked it a few different ways to bands. It's always fun to break up the monotony. But if you're in a boat and it's sinking and you have to throw somebody off the boat to survive, would it be Justin Bieber, Kim Kardashian, or David Draymond of Disturbed? Any one of those three, to save you and the rest of the band, who's going overboard?
Oh, dude, I have to like off one of them.
You got to.
Got one of them,
One.
right?
Just one.
I don't have like a personal connection with or relation with any of these people, but
Right.
I would have to say at least David Drayden, because he has contributed to metal in some way, and metal has contributed a lot to my life. So that's
Okay.
fair at least.
Okay.
And I have to save another one, right?
Yeah, you get two. You could save, one you got to toss off the side.
You know what? I'd save Justin Bieber. My little sister listened to a lot of Bieber growing up, and I remember for our car rides we had CDs, and I had my Manowar CDs, and she had her Justin Bieber CDs, and we had to like switch turns, like who got to get to play the CD in the car. So I've listened to a lot of Justin Bieber because of her. So it ain't too bad, when you listen to something enough, it sort of gets under your skin.
All right, so you're throwing Kim Kardashian off then, huh?
Definitely.
All right. That's funny. That's funny. I always love the different answers I get with that question. All right. Now, Norway is, of course, legendary for black metal and the infamous church burnings and stuff like that. But obviously, that's, a very small sector of what's going on. What's the overall metal scene like there in Norway?
Well, fortunately, it's nothing like that anymore. I always personally thought that was kind of stupid and nothing really cool about it. I view it as like angsty teenagers trying to be edgy just back then, so I'm glad it's not like that anymore. But black metal has dominated the metal scene here in Norway for many, many, many years. But fortunately, at least in my opinion, some death metal bands are starting to bloom up here and there in the country, I mean. And there's even a new festival coming up called Oslo Death Fest, which
cool,
which will be death metal bands, which I think is really, really cool.
Yeah,
but the metal scene is kind of stiff. It's really like integrated within our culture to be that metal has to be like tough guy,
right.
And I've always been against that, especially in Oslo. It's like that, but it's starting to loose up. And that's actually one of the things that I enjoy the most about playing in Blood Red Throne is that we allow ourselves to be goofy,
Yeah.
We like to throw a party and have fun, not taking ourselves too serious. So at a recent gig at the Infernal Festival in Oslo, which is like mainly a black metal festival, and people from all over the world come to that festival as sort of a pilgrimage for the black metal scene in Norway. And here we are just ruining it by like drinking on stage, and I have my dance moves, and you can see some people resonate well with it, but definitely some people in the crowd there look at this goofball. And we even got like a bad review from that gig. They mentioned something about toilet humor between the songs and stuff.
Oh God.
But I love it.
I think that's good to not be so super serious. Yeah. It gets to be silly almost,
It's my way of, sticking the finger to the Norwegian black metal.
Because I'm telling you right now, nobody's listening to Blood Red Throne and saying anything but you guys bring it like with a vengeance, So you guys could goof around all you want, but once you start playing, that's all down to the wayside, and you guys are just throwing down because, it's very intense, very intense. And one thing I really like, you mentioned Freddie earlier. I was going to have a question about this and forgot, or mentioned it to you about how much I like the fact that he does not overdo the blast beat stuff. I don't mind a blast beat here and there, but I'm not a fan of like relentlessly doing it. And I think it sounds heavier when you've got more of that, like you made that face, that nasty riff with the cool, just basic beat sounds completely badass to me. And then, you know,
Yeah.
at some point, like halfway through it, then he'll go into a double bass part with it,
Hmm.
and it builds to that. But to do the blast beats, I know some people like that. I'm just not a fan. And that's one of the reasons I like you guys, is because you don't do that.
Yeah.
That turns me
Well,
off to some of the extreme metal stuff with where it overdoes the blast beats.
yeah, dude, Freddie is such a groovy drummer. He has like this so human-like feel to his playing. He's like, I play with other drummers in different bands and stuff. But there's something about Freddie, you know. Sometimes when we play live, I have to just like turn around and look at him and smile, because there's something about this like 50-year-old man just like playing with his soul and heart. That's such, you know, yeah, he's such a groovy drummer, you know.
That's
It
awesome.
puts a smile on my
Yeah,
face.
I really, really like his playing too. I could see where you would as well, being a bass player. That makes sense. You're going to be keying in on him. Now, I know you mentioned earlier the band that you're in with Meat Hook, Son of a Shotgun, and I know you also play in You Suffer.
Yeah.
What's going on with the other projects that you're doing?
Well, Son of a Shotgun, we've had some live shows last year, and one live show this year, which was really fun. And as far as new music is, as far as I'm concerned about that, it's like we are just writing songs now. Actually, we're just taking it a bit chill. There's a lot of things happening with Lord of Thrones, so
Right.
we're taking it a bit slow at the moment, just like working on some new music, and hopefully we'll have some material to show for soon, I hope.
Sure.
And with You Suffer, we have like a full album recorded. It's just vocals
Oh,
left
cool.
now, so there should be happening some things
Oh,
there
very cool.
soon as well. So
Yeah, I listened to a song earlier. I liked it. I listened not enough of it. I wanted to listen to more, but I got other stuff happening.
yeah,
And
right.
I just checked it out just to see what it was like. And yeah, I definitely think I'd like to hear more of that. So
Yeah, and I think the new material is a step forward. So that's like always a good direction to be in.
yeah, definitely.
There's
That's
a lot
cool.
of I have a lot of bands going on and session work and stuff. I have a hard time saying no, because it's just a fun thing to do, you know. So
Sure.
if there's a local band that wants to play live or have an album recorded and need bass, I'm always like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude, like I'll do it, you know. And
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
cool. What was your first metal concert that you attended as a kid?
that was actually Manowar. My dad took me to Italy to see them, and he's not a metalhead at all. He just saw my passion, the way I really was obsessed with heavy metal because of Manowar, and he took me to Italy for like a birthday present or a Christmas present or something, which was a really cool thing to do.
Yeah.
So that was my first heavy metal gig. No one introduced me
Awesome.
to it.
When was that? You're going to make me feel old now. Go ahead.
That was yeah, that was in 2012.
Oh
So
gosh. Wow. I'm going to tell you mine. I'm definitely going to date myself. I'm 56, so I'm
yeah,
quite a bit older than you, but my first metal show, 1983, Iron Maiden on the
oh,
Peace of Mind tour. I just was getting ready to start playing bass, and that concert was like Steve Harris. I was just like, holy shit. And then about a year later, right after I started playing bass, I saw Metallica on the Ride the Lightning tour.
oh,
So
dude.
Cliff Burton was about an
Whew.
arm's length from me, and they played with Wasp and Armored Saint, and Metallica. It was a blizzard, and there was about 200 people there. It was a small venue. I saw Metallica 1984 on the Ride the Lightning tour. I saw him again on Master of Puppets with Cliff, and then it was right after that they went to Europe, and that's when he died. But I got to see him twice, and very, very influential on me wanting to play bass, you know. I went out
Oh,
and
yeah,
got a wah to try to, do what he was doing. And I like Geezer Butler too. And so I
yeah.
played with the wah a little bit, but I've always played with my fingers. I've never used a pick. Always liked the bassists that use their fingers. So that's the way I started playing. But yeah, I
You're
love
so
telling the younger bands that because they're like, "Oh man, I wish I was
yeah.
around. I wish
Yeah,
I was
that's the
around to
feeling
see
I have.
that."
You saw like Iron Maiden and Metallica at their peak. That's like you have
Yeah,
to treasure that memory forever. Take
definitely.
it to your grave.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love telling the younger bands that. Now, are there any plans for you guys to do any touring with Blood Red Throne this year, or any big fests? Anything going on with that you can talk about?
Yeah, we have like a good amount of things coming up. We have already this upcoming weekend. We're heading to France, headlining Brutal Swamp Fest along with Severe Torture, which is a really cool death metal band from Holland. Um, and then we have we're playing Dortmund Death Fest with Deicide and I Am Morbid. I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, nasty.
That's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really into like old school death metal,
Yeah.
especially Morbid Angel and Deicide,
Oh, yeah.
that kind of thing. So I'm really stoked for that one. And in October, we're heading to Australia and New Zealand for the first time, doing a tour there. So
Awesome.
so that's really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so many great Australian bands. I really, really like quite a few of them. That one man I mentioned in Malice's Wake, really like them. And I've always liked Blood Duster. I know they're not around anymore, but definitely like quite a few of the Australian bands.
Have you heard Faceless Burial?
What's that?
Faceless Burial.
I'm not sure if I have or not. I'll have to
Oh, you
check
have to
that out.
check those out. They're a great Australian band, like old school death metal, but like really weird and mind-boggling psychedelic feel to it, which is
Oh, okay. All right.
yeah.
All right. I'll definitely check that out. Any podcasts that you like? You listen to podcasts much? I know you're a Murder Metal Mayhem fan now, of course, but
Yeah, of course.
but no, any that you like that you want to mention?
I listen to as of late mostly Norwegian podcasts. There's a really good one called Tåkeprat. He talks about history, mostly dark history, like dark subjects.
Mm-hmm.
But he do them really thoroughly. He like reads a ton of books before doing the episode, and he record them on the analog tape. And all the
Oh,
music
wow.
in the podcast he makes by himself on his synth and stuff. And he has like a really low, soothing voice, so you really like get into the headspace and like vividly imagine the stories he's
Huh.
telling. That's my go-to podcast as of late.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's cool.
I'm sorry that's like really a really narrow suggestion for everyone.
Well,
But
if we have some Norwegian fans, I'm sure, but not. We got like 75% of our listeners are U.S., and then the rest of them are pretty spread out. But Canada, Australia, we're pretty good, big in there, but in Europe, but mostly U.S. So anything else you want to add, Stian? Anything that we didn't cover? Anything you want to plug?
Not that top of my head.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, I want to say thanks from all of us here at Murder Metal Mayhem for doing this. We appreciate it very much. And you're always, of course, welcome back. And if ever, the other guys in the band want to do one with you or, down the road, that's always cool. But anything, we appreciate it. And I did want to close out the interview by playing my favorite song off the Imperial Congregation album, and this one's called Itika. And what is that about? I was curious if you know much about what the song is about.
yeah. Well, first of all, I have to say, like, thank you very much for having me. I had a lot of fun. It was nice talking to you. It really
Cool,
was.
cool.
But Itika, that's like about like this tempest, sort of like a mermaid principle, but instead of being like a mermaid, she's a zombie. So she
Oh,
lures you from the grave, you know, and wants to be your girlfriend.
oh
but I
boy.
don't.
Is that
But I don't.
you guys created this, or is this like a movie or something from a book or?
It's Bolt who writes the lyrics, and I don't know if he made the word up or he found it in a dictionary or what he did,
Interesting.
but I think it's a cool,
Oh,
cool song.
I love the groove in that. That's just such a good song.
Yeah, it's a banger for sure. We play it live on a regular basis now in our
Oh,
set
I'm
list
sure.
because
I'm sure.
it's a good track live. But so yeah, Evil Dead girlfriend with the intentions that probably aren't so good or
Yeah, it
something
doesn't
like that.
sound like it. Well, listeners, you can check out Itika here, Blood Red Throne, Stian Gundersen. Thanks so much, man. And horns high from the United States.
mother, man.